In this WrestleTalk news, details on Johnny Gargano's Raw return, another WWE injury, Ollie's review of Raw, and more. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
This rebel heart, this rebel heart. Oh, what a banging track. Oh, right, we're filming. Right, yeah, sorry. Just got caught up. Johnny Gargano made his shock return to WWE on last night's episode of Raw, emanating from Toronto, announcing that Johnny Wrestling is back. You know, Tempest is back in Canada briefly, and he mentioned to me before he left that actually, he might go to the Raw in Toronto. It would be cool to see Edge wrestle there, and he didn't know if he'd get the chance again. I don't think when he went, he'd also see Gargano's return to WWE. The bastard. The return caught everyone by surprise, being included seemingly randomly in the show with no forewarning or even an angle to set it up. But this didn't just shock the fans, as Fightful Select has some more details. According to the report, Gargano's name wasn't featured on any rundowns of the show. Much of the talent didn't know about the return, and even a fair amount of production weren't clued in either. Most people reportedly found out about Gargano's return when he walked through Backstage minutes before his segment. Gargano had been away from WWE since December last year, letting his contract expire as he'd also taken some time to welcome his first child into the world, and WWE reportedly kept up interest in re-signing him during that time, while they were also reportedly patient and respected Gargano's wishes during his time off. There was a time, before Triple H gained power realistically, that people thought Gargano could end up in AEW, but Fightful Select reports that negotiations between Gargano and AEW never truly progressed to advanced stages, while Impact Wrestling was never a serious consideration. According to AEW sources speaking to Fightful Select, they didn't believe Gargano would end up in the company, but there were reportedly several people pushing for it. This is genuinely such an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. I am pumped. The more things change though, the more they stay the same, as the injury curse continues to plague the wrestling industry. On last week's SmackDown, the team of Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark were replaced in the women's tag team title tournament by Toxic Attraction, as WWE mentioned, because Lyons was medically unavailable and Stark reportedly had a concussion. And that streak of bad luck continued as WWE announced that due to injury sustained by Gigi Dolin, Toxic Attraction have now been pulled from the tournament as well. A second chance fatal four-way was announced in its place to find out the replacements in the tournament. According to the Wrestling Observer, Dolin's injury was actually a concussion as well, matching Stark's reported injury. WrestleTalk would like to wish Gigi Dolin, Zoe Stark, and anyone else that may or may not be injured a speedy recovery. One last quick bit before we get into the Raw review. Following that episode of Raw in Toronto, Edge cut a promo to his home country, where he interestingly noted that in an ideal world, he'd like to retire, for real this time, next August in Toronto. Whether that's when his contract expires or he has some specific plans around that time, who knows? But it seems we might be in the home stretch of Edge's run in WWE. And now, hot tag to Ollie.
Before we get on with the rest of the episode, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to this video's sponsor, Manscaped, where you can get 20% off your order, plus free international shipping and 2 free gifts by going to our super special link, manscaped.com/WTTV. Manscaped have sent me the Performance Package 4.0, which includes the new Lawnmower 4.0, a waterproof, cordless razor that can be used to shave anywhere on your body. The blades are ceramic and easily changeable, meaning I can have a separate face and neck blade from my, well, there's no discreet way of saying this, my bum blade. The blade I use specifically for my bum. And for a limited time when you purchase the Performance Package 4.0, which also has the Crop Preserver Liquid Deodorant and Crop Reviver Toner Spray. And don't forget the Weed Whacker Nose and Ear Hair Trimmer, genuinely the only thing that cuts through my adamantium weaved nose hairs. You'll also get the Shed Travel Bag and Manscaped Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs for free. So click on our special manscaped.com/WTTV link in the video description below right now to get 20% off your order, free international shipping, and your 2 free gifts today. Clicking that link also helps support us here at WrestleTalk, so take control of your grooming today and trim that gooch. Now it's time for my review of Monday Night Takeover in about 5 minutes. Presumably because the show took place in Toronto, it started with a good old-fashioned hockey brawl, as Riddle and Seth Rollins tumbled into the crowd before being split apart. In a subtle production trick, Raw held off on firing their full welcoming pyro display until after this brawl, not only elevating the chaotic, unpredictable feel, but also letting me say the words subtle and production next to each other about Monday Night Raw. the hockey brawl wasn't the only "Oh, Canada" reference though, as there was also a Trish Stratus out to cut a nostalgia pop promo. It's a really smart strategy, customizing shows to the actual location. We're getting it again next week with Kurt Angle announced for Pittsburgh. Bayley, Io Sky and Dakota Kai interrupted Trish, which led to the show's opening match. The women's tag team tournament semi-final, Sky and Kai versus Asuka and Alexa Bliss. It was a fine match. Asuka and Sky worked well together. Asuka thought she had it won when Kai tapped, but Io had blind tagged herself in and got the roll-up victory. A good finish and the right result. Of all the mountains Triple H has inherited, he's weirdly chosen the toughest one to climb each week on Raw, trying to make me care again about Dolph Ziggler. And I can't believe I'm actually saying this after a decade of him being booked into oblivion. Hot damn, it might be happening. He had a really good match with Finn Balor, whipping the crowd into a frenzy off a few near falls at the end, but Ripley hit Dolph behind the referee's back, leading to a Balor win. Dolph has suffered the last 2 weeks from a tired crowd late in the show, despite good performances. This here worked far better as the second match on the show in front of a hot Toronto crowd. Speaking of, Chad Gable got local sports team heat by saying how Toronto aren't very good at hockey. Oh damn, they really like hockey, they're Canadian. Then issued an open challenge as Alpha Academy are looking for new recruits. They want a fighter, a request that was answered by Canada's own Kevin Owens. This got a huge reaction and felt like one of those surprises that actually makes perfect sense, considering their shared recent Elias DNA storyline. It's like KO is trying to powerbomb recent continuity out of our collective minds. Owens won a great TV match and then somehow laid out both of Alpha Academy afterwards without making them look weak. WWE is doing a fantastic job right now of booking KO's momentum, which in turn really helps flesh out the main event scene, building a #1 contender for after the current top title feud. Bayley beat Aliyah in her first match back since returning, and then Dexter Lumis kidnapped a guy, and nobody cared. I spotted 2 background references to the larger Loomis invasion storyline in the show. First, Adam Pearce and his Keystone Cops walked backstage with what looked like a wanted photo of him, and then later they're all looking at something smoking near a shuttered door. It's so much fun to watch WWE to actually pay attention, rather than like in the Vince era, where nothing mattered enough to really care. This angle took place in the Blood Feud tag match of AJ Styles and Bobby Lashley versus The Miz and Ciampa. The match itself was a bit filler. It was the angle that played out in it that mattered. It almost makes me wonder if that was an intentional direction. Don't have the blowaway match we know you all, and The Miz I guess can have, to a 3-star match because we want people to focus on the angle. That's right, I'm even praising Triple H's mediocre matchmaking. The Kool-Aid is strong. After 10 or so minutes, AJ was suddenly grabbed by a man wearing a motorcycle helmet from the front row, who was quickly dragged off by security. Styles walked off confused when another motorcycle helmet guy a bit further on revealed himself as Dexter Lumis. It's awesome to have genuinely smart heels. Lumis knew they were looking for him, so he had a decoy. Does raise the question though, who was in the other helmet? MJF to WWE confirmed. Rather than attack AJ though, who's been targeting for the last few weeks, Lumis kidnapped The Miz, and nobody cared. The match was declared a DQ and AJ and Bobby just continued to beat up Ciampa while commentary is like, hey everybody, a dude's been kidnapped. As fun as this was, I think it would have been more realistic to have Bobby and AJ stop and try and chase after Lumis too. At least Ciampa should have done something. Can't slip one by me though, Triple H. I've already seen Dexter Lumis debut 3 weeks ago. He's not really a new person. There's not been a new person debut for almost 8 days. This roster is getting stale. Oh yeah, it's Rebel Heart playing. Oh it's Rebel Heart playing! Johnny Gargano then walked out, totally unannounced, no build-up, just after a random ad break and collection of hot WWE Instagram pictures, to a huge pop from Toronto's many hardcore fans, and a lesser pop from the confused families sitting next to them. For them, Johnny explained that he was kind of a big deal in NXT, being a former NXT champion, a 3-time North American champion. I bet none of those families know what that is. First ever Triple Crown winner in NXT, a former tag team champion, which he won in this very building. Who was it with, Johnny? Say who it was with! It's just in the ring. It was a cathartic recognition that the NXT we all loved really did happen in the WWE-verse. He cut an incredibly affable promo, getting the crowd to chant baby wrestling for his kid, merch obviously incoming. Oh, I bet the other t-shirt company is smarting over that. And that he returned to WWE to teach his child that any dream is possible if you work hard enough, which was the perfect setup for his kayfabe son to interrupt him, his former way stablemate. Austin Theory. After a very funny "Who's Your Daddy" chant from the crowd, Theory humble bragged to his former father figure that he's already competed at Mania. He's already become the youngest ever US champion. All the things Johnny dreamed of, he's already done them. Theory then went for a high five for old time's sake. Gargano played it up, but then super kicked him instead. This was a fantastic segment, not just maximizing the chance for a new star to get immediately over, but also putting him right into a meaty feud where he can be an excellent babyface. And, metaphorically, an example of the Vince era going up against the Triple H one. And the main event also felt big time, just in another, more mainstream way, with Edge wrestling his first match in Toronto for over a decade. That's right, the main event was actually the main event for a change. Edge and Damian Priest had a very good match, heightened by Chekhov's Beth Phoenix at ringside. Despite being powerbombed through the announcer's table and being whacked in the head with a steel chair leg, Edge hit a Canadian destroyer. Oh, Canada! And a spear to win. Ripley attacked Edge afterwards for Beth to scare Judgment Day off, surely setting up a mixed-gender tag for Clash at the Castle. What did you think of Raw? Let me know in the comments. I can't remember a 3-hour Raw as genuinely good as this one. Not in a, oh, that was a fun mess way, or wow, what a crazy Raw, or at least it's better than Vince's era. This was genuinely good, well-paced TV. Edge wrestling, the Loomis invasion, KO gaining momentum, and Johnny wrestling debuting. The 3 hours actually went by fast. It's the best episode of Raw of the year at 87%. But what's going on with CM Punk's AEW heat across the wrestling divide? Watch on to find out more.
In this WrestleTalk news, a potential rumor killer on CM Punk's backstage unhappiness in AEW. A notable name is gone from WWE. A rumor killer on Warner Brothers Discovery being unhappy with All Elite Wrestling and more.